Thanks for tuning in to PR's Realm. Today, I'm going to give you a little different video. I saw one of these online about a Tupac collection. As you see over here, I have thousands of CDs. So if you really like this video, make sure you share it, make sure you subscribe, and let me know in the comments, because then I'll do a bunch more. And you're going to see some rarities, some unheard ofs, and of course, the originals. So to start off, I'll start off with the basics. Here we go with Tupac's first album. I'm not going to go too deep into these because everyone should know these if you're a fan. We got Tupacalypse Now, Strictly for My Niggas, Me Against the World, All Eyes on Me, and then this was a single. One of the singles from that, it has How Do You Want It. It also has two of America's Most Wanted and Hit 'Em Up, as well as California Love. Then it's his last album. Although he was already dead when it was released, he was a part of making this album. That's why I left these albums separate. From there, these are some of his albums that came out, official albums that came out after he died, which aren't greatest hits, because I have those separately and I have some other albums separately. As you see, there's a lot to get through, so I'm going to try to go pretty quickly. Are You Still Down? Better Days, Until the End of Time. This was also a movie, Tupac Resurrection, and with this movie, unlike other movies, the soundtrack was a Tupac album. There's also Loyal to the Game and Pac's Life. Now these albums over here, the reason why I put them separately is because all of these are somewhat of a greatest hits. They may have some differences, some new artists, remixes of certain songs, but for the most part, they're greatest hits albums, meaning they're on other albums. These may just be different versions, and on some of them, they have a couple new songs. So we have here the Greatest Hits album. This was one of the first Greatest Hits albums that came out. Then they have the New Mix Classics and the New Mix Classics Volume 2. All these are remixes of his original songs. Unfortunately, I didn't like these albums as much, and as you see, I'm a big Tupac fan, so. The Tupac Live album. A lot of these albums I got because I'm a big fan. This is sort of like a greatest hits as well. The only difference is this is done live. A lot of these albums too, besides his All Eyes on Me, he was the first one to have a double CD rap album, are double CDs, and now you know it's a lot more common. This one was a double CD, although it was sold separately. It was a part 1 Thug and part 2 Life. Now this one is an import greatest hits. It's from Japan. It was the 10th year anniversary. They called it The Sex, Soul, and the Street. And it actually has a lot of the same songs. Again, some new remixes. It's actually 3 CDs though. So, especially if you don't have all of Tupac's albums, you might want this. If you're a fan, you'll definitely want this. Moving on, here's some singles, some more singles I should say, that are a little rare. They got the Running remixes, which came out with Tupac and Biggie, but so many different versions of this song came out. One such person who put out other versions of this is a guy named Trap, who really wasn't a great rapper, but I guess he got to sell some albums using Tupac and Biggie. And here they got Stop the Gunfight, which is actually Running. This one has a few other tracks of Tupac and Biggie that aren't anywhere else. Same as this one. This was actually the first version I heard of Running. and then they remixed it tons of times afterwards. Then I got this multi-single, They're Trying to Kill Me. It's a dedication. It has a little interview, and it has the club mix. Moving on to interviews, since I'm on the topic, quite a few companies made different interview albums. They got the Tupac Exposed, Tupac Shakur in Conversation, in his own words. This also has a great tribute by Tretch, from Naughty by Nature, or you could say Naughty by Nature in general, but of course Tretch is the lead singer, the lead rapper. Moving on with those, I have to bring up these. It's called Tupac the Lowdown. Now these aren't the greatest of interview slash biographies because they're done by an Australian company, but if you love Tupac, they're great additions to your collection. This one, the Lowdown, came with Maximum Tupac, and this one came with more Maximum Tupac, basically just more about his story. Although I did find some of what they said, some of their facts were not correct. Moving on, there's a little disclaimer in regards to this. This says Tupac vs. Biggie. All it is actually this album with a similar version on Biggie. So unfortunately I got 2 copies of this. But the price I paid as if I was only getting 1 CD or less. So came out worth it, and I didn't have the Notorious B.I.G. one, who was also a great rapper. Again, if you like these videos, maybe my next one I'll do on Big. From there, we could go on to some tributes. This one was done by his father, or the guy who says he's his father. I don't know if they ever did a DNA, if it was ever proven or not, but he came out after everything. His name is Billy Garland, and in the album, they have Dr. Matulu Shakur, Mopreme Shakur, The Outlaws. This actually isn't a Tupac album. Like I said, it's a Tupac tribute, which is why I put these 2 here. The Rose That Grew from the Concrete, Volumes 1 and 2, which he also had the book on. And I put these as tribute albums because they're his works, but he's not the one rapping. There's other people doing the poems. Next on tributes, Legends. And this one is going to lead into quite a few others. This is a tribute album, but he's on it, although it's not only him. It's basically a tribute to Tupac and Dr. Dre. Although, the bad thing is, the songs that are on here, a good majority of the Tupac songs came out on several other albums with slightly different versions, and some songs were the same version. You can find the same thing on the Lost tapes, on Tupac remixes, Static 21 and 21, which is part 2 of this. This is supposed to be the remixes, but they sound pretty much the same. Tupac Shakur, The Beginnings, again, same thing as this. There's also Force One Network, again, same things as this. Now I put this over here because although it has Tupac songs on the Force One Network, he was a part of a group when he did these songs, which is why I put this Tupac album over here, because technically it's actually an Outlaws album. They did what most people did after Pac died and started making albums and writing Tupac's name on it if it had him for 10 seconds or it had him throughout the album. He was a part of the Outlaws. That was his group. If he was around, they wouldn't have said Tupac and the Outlaws. It would have just said the Outlaws. Although this is one of the best albums. This is if you don't have this and you're a Tupac fan, you would love this album from beginning to end. This is a classic that, as far as I know, was never considered a classic. One of the best albums ever. Moving on from there, we got Tupac live at the House of Blues. Now I put this separately because, again, although it says Tupac, when you look at it, it has Tupac, Snoop, the Dog Pound. It's basically a Death Row compilation live album. Thug Angel. Now this is inspired by the movie. Again, it doesn't have tons of stuff from him. I think he might be on 1 or 2 tracks, maybe even not. But it's all about him, this movie, so I figured I'd just add it in. The gang-related soundtrack, it has a couple songs by Tupac. Mostly Tupac with the Outlaws. So it was kind of like outlaw songs. Like Made Niggas, Staring at the World Through My Rear View, Lost Souls, and I think 1 or 2 others. But this is a dope album. This is really good because this has a lot of people like Ice Cube. It has Tech Nine. It has Kool and the Gang. It has Daz. It has, of course, the Outlaws, Snoop Dogg. It has a lot of people and a lot of good songs. So if you don't have this, you'll definitely like this one. The Above the Rim soundtrack. Certain versions have a song by Pac. Certain versions don't. Originally, he was supposed to do a song on here. It never came out originally. And they still paid him for it, or so. That's what he said in an interview. These are some albums that came out by various record companies. And yes, they're actual albums. And like this one, The Way He Wanted It. If you see, it's an official album. It has a nice artwork and all that. Of course, it's not officiated by his mom. Unfortunately, she passed as well, but there is someone controlling the estate. This is The Way He Wanted It, Volume 2. This one was 3. This was Machiavelli 2001, which was basically a mixtape, but it did have some new stuff. Then they have the Underground tracks with Notorious B.I.G., which was similar to the one with Trap, but it also has other songs as well, and Tupac with other artists, like the Funky Aztecs. I do have an album with the Funky Aztecs, albums with Spice One, albums with E40, all these various artists that he did work with, but to take out every album, they're not really Tupac albums. He just appears on their albums. So I try to stick to the Tupac albums and then a few of the tributes. This one's Tupac the Hereafter, which is very similar to this one. And then we got Tupac and Friends. And this one, it has some new stuff, some stuff that's changed around, and some old stuff. I really don't even know how these people get away with putting out these albums, but they do. Some of them come out in other countries, so I guess it's a little easier. Moving on from there, and the final category is some of the bootleg albums. This one's a greatest hits. I got it for free, so of course I wouldn't buy a bootleg greatest hits, but it was good because it had all good songs and I could listen to it from beginning to end. Someone gave it to me. This one was downloaded. DJ Run Army, Militant Minds. It has some remixes. You could tell some of the songs were old songs that they changed around and added different choruses and different beats. Another one, I was given this one as well. It's another best of Tupac. And it did actually have some unreleased songs, but it was a download, so it didn't cost anything. Then we got Rap Phenomenon 2. I never saw part 1. Sometimes they have different ones of this online, and they want to charge ridiculous prices, $100, $200, $1,000. Who's going to buy that? Pound Mecca, Tupac, Life After Death. These are all double CDs. I'm not going to go through every song, but it has a lot of unreleased songs. These actually came out before they started releasing some of his unreleased songs. This is Machiavelli Part 3. This one's another double CD. That's Machiavelli 2000, Machiavelli Part 2. And this one is DJ Butter's version of Machiavelli Part 1. One thing I left out, and before I leave, I had a Tupac book, where I have several other Tupac books. But like I said, we're going to stick to CDs. And this one is the story of Static and how we all started and how it began. And it's a really interesting book. Again, you can't take everything you read 100%. You know, it's from one person's perspective, but it seemed pretty legit. And then it comes with the My Tupac Shakur story, Static, which I thought it would be the book, but it's actually a lot of the songs from the album that I showed you before in the beginning, where it has like the Lost Tapes, Force One Network, and various versions of it. But it's really a nice book. It's interesting to read. It has a lot of pictures, mostly black and white, but as you saw, there were color in the front and back. It has Digital Underground. And basically, it seemed like a lot of the people that were in Digital Underground were a part of Force One Network. But it tells a lot of backstories and things that went on behind the scenes. So it's interesting to read. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you like these type of videos, please subscribe, share, like, and leave a comment. Leave several comments. Come back often. Tell your friends. Let me know you want more videos like this. Again, I have thousands of CDs in my collection. So you could pretty much pick a rap artist and I'll have them. If I don't, maybe I'll get them. But the big ones, like the Puns, the Biggies, Rakim, you know, I could go on for hours naming. Slick Rick. I even have some autograph ones. Make sure you let me know. Thanks for watching. PRsRealm. www.youtube.com/PRsRealm.